views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
And hello, everyone, and welcome to Open, the one and only show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I'm your host, Daren. Jaime. Today we'll update you on what's happening in and around our borough, as well as across New York City. Coming up on today's show, we go front and center talking about the need for pest management and prevention as COVID restrictions are now beginning to ease. Then, a little later on in the show, we'll talk about the upcoming Wellness Week taking place across New York State. More later on. Afterwards, we'll speak with a career strategist on how to navigate that hybrid working from home and the office. Some people are saying, I just want to stay home. We'll give you some tips on how possibly to stay home and make life a little bit more comfortable. Also, we'll discuss how one Bronx fashion designer transformed his childhood dream into a reality. And then finally, we'll learn about an annual literary event in the Bronx, connecting and encouraging literary and social engagement. We want to encourage you to stay connected to us because guess what? All this and much more is heading your way. Right now, we're officially open. And hello, everyone, and welcome to Open. Today is Wednesday, July 14th, and you're watching Open, a live interactive program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to your TV set. We also want to welcome our viewers on Manhattan Neighborhood Network, as Open is being broadcast live simultaneously on the MNN channels. We also want to tell you the best way to stay connected to us on our social media platforms is BronxNet TV. And if you want to find out more information about us, don't hesitate to go to bronxnet.org. Well, some things have been going on through the past week, and we'll take you through a couple with our Bronx updates. We start off with public safety news. New York State Governor Andrew Cuomo issued an executive order signing legislation establishing what he calls a first-in-the-nation disaster emergency on gun violence. The order is paired with a $138 million plan to curb the spike in shootings, which has plagued New York since the height of the coronavirus pandemic. Now, the governor did unveil a 7-step plan treating the gun violence epidemic as both a public health issue and a civil rights issue. In New York, 68% of gun violence victims are non-white, a number that rises to 77% in New York City. Governor Cuomo later stated, quote, gun violence is hitting the Black and brown communities hardest and it's compounding the damage from COVID. Now, the majority of money in the governor's plan will be used to invest in new jobs and outreach programs for youth aimed at preventing their involvement in shootings. In other news, SN Healthcare has partnered with Mercy College, creating a nurse practitioner program titled the FNP Jumpstart Program. Our BronxNet reporter, Darissa White, has the details. She brings us a story right now.
Arlene Flores is taking the first step into the rest of her life. This is all because of Mercy College and SN Healthcare's partnership to provide a nurse practitioner program to the Bronx, giving non-traditional students like Arlene a second chance to pursue their dreams of becoming a registered nurse.
My dream of practicing my profession is gonna happen. It doesn't matter what the letters after my name is, as long as I get to care for my patients in an underserved community.
The Jumpstart program, which is coming to Mercy College's Bronx campus in the fall 2021 semester, is providing a direct pipeline for the students to become primary healthcare providers. Some of these students wouldn't have any other path or opportunity to get into the medical field without it. Arlene Flores says not only is this program a second chance, but a dream come true for students like her who had practically given up on nursing.
I was very frustrated, thinking that I would have to find another career path, do something else with my life, and leave my healthcare behind.
And now she has one message for older, non-traditional students.
You can fulfill your dream of being a healthcare provider, and don't give up.
Dr. Samir Segal, the chief medical officer of Essen Healthcare, says many of these students that the program is making itself available to are from other countries and haven't had many opportunities to practice medicine, even if they had several years of schooling in their home country.
And there is no path for them to get into healthcare unless somebody creates it. And that is where Mercy and Essen Healthcare are working now to create this program.
The program is scheduled to begin in the fall. It's offering a discounted tuition to Essen Healthcare employees and plans to nominate 15 of the most qualified candidates at Essen Healthcare to apply for admission. Reporting for BronxNet, Darissa White.
And thank you, Darissa. And that's all the time we have for our Bronx updates. We want you to stay with us. We got a full show. Open continues coming up after this.
We built a media network for you.
BronxNet TV.
Come learn in your new state-of-the-art studios at Lehman College.
At Mercy College.
And coming soon to the South Bronx in the Hub.
Inspire with your stories, culture, history.
Your Bronx on BronxNet.
Engage with us.
Connect with us at your channels and at bronxnet.tv.
Learn, engage, inspire. BronxNet TV.
From the Bronx
to the world.
BronxNet.
And welcome back to the show. The pandemic has drastically impacted every aspect of our daily lives, and the impact not just limited to people. As our habits and our routines continue to deal with the virus, common pests such as bed bugs, ticks, and rodents are finding new ways to insert themselves into our neighborhoods, and even worse yet, our homes. Our next guest is one who helps people prevent issues with pests and provide manageable recommendations for existing problems. Joining us to tell us more details, we're pleased to have the Community IPM Extension Area Educator at the New York State Integrated Pest Management Program at Cornell University, Matt Frye. Trying to say all of that in one sentence. Matt, good to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Listen, when we talk about where we are right now, obviously the summer's upon us. It's warmer weather. And we've also are trying to really navigate coming out of COVID-19. The impact of these animals, insects, rodents across the state. Talk to us. Share with us what we're seeing. Definitely an increase.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the really interesting things has been the response of rats during and after the pandemic. And it's kind of really taught us some important lessons about how much influence that we have as people on their populations. So what we saw early on in the pandemic was as restaurants and other places that serve food, including schools, shut down, rodent populations in those areas were extremely stressed. They didn't have any food available, and so they started feeding on baits that were nearby, and they also started cannibalizing each other to find some source of nourishment. So in areas like around food services and in areas where people are living in residential spaces, rodent populations increased. And so they kind of distributed to new areas. Now what we're seeing as the restaurants start to open and food becomes available again, the rodent populations are starting to rebound in all of the areas. So we're seeing this increase in population, but it's not just associated with the food sources and the commercial food establishments, it's everywhere. Right. So that is one of the major challenges that we're seeing. In terms of the other pests, things like bed bugs, the biggest challenge with them is that now that people are getting out and about again, it's possible for them to transfer bed bugs from their living situation to other locations. And so as people are getting back on subways and commuting and potentially going on vacation, they may be exposed to bed bugs that have been brought there by somebody else.
Yeah. So as I look right now, I'm a New Yorker. I'm so familiar with walking around the city transit system, and you'd walk around and you'd see, and we'll stay on rodents for a moment, you know, the influx of rats. And you always want to say, listen, you know what, these rodents, these rats, you want to see them out of here. What is the biggest thing that maybe we can do in the city to try to minimize the population, if you will?
Yeah, the biggest challenge is the food availability to rodents. And so it's hard as an individual to really have an impact on the rodent population, because it's all about how garbage is placed out on the street, how it's stored, and when it's transported. So if we could store our trash in rodent-proof containers, metal containers that would keep the rodents out, that would be great. Unfortunately, in most cases, the rodents are just able to dig right into the trash bags that we leave our food in and have a feast. So if we could change how we're storing our trash, that would really help. If we're seeing rodents in our living space, that's something that we can manage on our own, because we can build them out. We can find how they're coming into our living space and then use some simple construction techniques, putting up some wire mesh or filling a hole to keep them out. And that's the best thing that we can do, is prevent them in our own space.
Yeah. And so as we're looking right now, obviously a lot of challenges, bed bugs, ticks. These are common things that are going on that we're dealing with in the community. You know, people ask the question, where do they come from?
That is a good question. Bed bugs, you know, in our time, we haven't really had to deal with bed bugs. They have been around for hundreds of years. And just in the early 2000s, they started to make a resurgence and come back to human society. And the way that bed bugs operate is they are cryptic little vampires. They'll hide in places near where people are resting, and they'll feed on them while they sleep. How they get moved to new locations is that they will potentially go into someone's backpack or their other items that they bring with them to work or on vacation, and they get dropped off in new locations. So they can easily be spread as a hitchhiker to locations where people are hanging out. And then once they're there, they find the place where someone's resting, they can feed on them and start their own population. So it's really easy for populations of bed bugs to get established in locations once they've been dropped off in that spot.
Yeah. I'm thinking for, you know, the general population, a lot of us are just really concerned with all that goes on in terms of, you know, you talked about rodents, we talked about bed bugs and all of that, but prevention, that's key. And so that's what we want to do right now. We'll get to the area of prevention. So what can New Yorkers do in the area of prevention when it comes to take us through bed bugs? And then again, you know, we'll walk through the rodents and other things.
Sure. So the approach that I take when I'm traveling and anytime I'm in a location where other people are sharing that space is to always be thinking about bed bugs. And yeah, that's my line of work, but that's the thing that has prevented me from bringing bed bugs into my living space. So if I'm in a library, for example, I'm not just going to put my bag on the floor. I'm always going to be vigilant of where I'm putting my belongings. I'm keeping them on a chair next to me or keeping them on my lap. If I'm riding a subway, you know, I'm keeping my items close so that they're not in touch with someone else's personal belongings. If I am traveling for work, the last thing I would ever do is put my personal belongings on a bed, because that's where those critters live. And now you're putting a free ride for them right outside their front door. So you want to always think about, you know, where bed bugs are sleeping and where they're resting. And that's going to be near our sleeping areas and where we're resting. And so we want to keep our personal belongings away from that.
Right.
Once there's a concern, you think you're being bitten in your home, the best thing that you can do is not panic. People tend to go to these crazy extremes by throwing out all their personal belongings and trying to start fresh. That isn't necessarily going to solve the problem. We want to be aware of what pest is there. We want to make sure that we identify the pest as a bed bug and then take some simple precautions. Even a vacuum cleaner can help to remove an early infestation of bed bugs. So when the problem just begins, we don't need to go crazy and throw out everything or hose everything down with a pesticide. we can use simple techniques that can eliminate those bugs.
I want to tell you, Matt, you have helped a lot of people out just in that last statement all by itself, because I do know people, as soon as you hear the house has been touched by bed bugs, everything in the house goes. And so what you're telling them is they're wasting money and you're pressing a panic button. Matt, I want to thank you so much for being with us and sharing with us. I mean, obviously, if things go well, your business decreases. But I mean, really, the fact of the matter is, for most of us here in New York, we do want to live in a little bit more peace. But thanks a lot.
Thank you for the opportunity.
All right. Well, listen, now, if you want more information, you really can talk to Matt. You can visit their website, nysipm.cornell.edu. And we encourage you, don't go anywhere. We've got more open coming up right after this. And welcome back to the show. The COVID-19 pandemic has affected many individuals across the globe, especially in the area of mental health, with people suffering from pain, grief, loss, and loneliness in response. Our next guest has wanted to bring awareness to everyone in every facet of our society so that we can start focusing more meaningfully and effectively on people's state of wellness, as well as psychological and physical. Joining us to share more details is the founder and president of Scudder Intervention Services Foundation, Brett A. Scudder. And Brett, good to have you.
Good afternoon, my brother. Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity to be here to talk about this important effort.
Yeah, we're talking about, wellness, and mental wellness is very important. We know that we just came off of mental health awareness and able to deal in this area of wellness. When we look at what's going on, particularly in New York State, the governor talking about gun crime. You've got other people wrestling with COVID. You've got other people who've got unemployment issues. It's really a time where there needs to be wellness checks, I should say.
Yes, there you go. There you go. Thank you. And thank you for saying that, because it's the wellness check part that's important, right? We talk about mental health as if it's just a word, but we have to understand that this is a real experience for people. And that experience requires us to check in on each other. How are you? How are you doing? How are you holding up? How are you impacted by this pandemic? How is this gun violence thing and this rising in crime affecting you? Not to assume that because we have services, our services are provided, that people are using those services or even know where those services are. A lot of people are not even tapping into the community services or healthcare services that's right next to them, that's on the block from them, that's in their community, because they're so traumatized at home, living in fear of what's happening from COVID, from the crisis that's going on with the pandemic, gun violence, homelessness, unemployment. So many things are affecting us. The one thing that we're really struggling with, though, is how do we check in with each other to know how we're feeling, what we're feeling, and what do we do with the experiences that we are feeling?
Yeah, and the experiences that we are feeling are very serious and very real. What do we do to help validate people's feelings to, get to the place where we can say, listen, what you feel is real?
Well, it's simple. We just have to respect the fact that what people are feeling is real. It's not something that we can say, hey, Brett, you should not feel this way about the pandemic. You should not feel this way about gun violence. You should not feel this way about, unemployment or not working or not being able to sustain yourself effectively. What we need to do is recognize that and say, yes, I understand that this is your reality. I understand this is your truth. And so because this is your reality and truth, how can we help you with that? What can we do to help? Where can we create safe spaces in our communities where people can come out and just express how they're truly feeling? How do we create a community that people are not afraid to express what they're feeling? How do we create a community where people feel like it's okay to not be okay? Those are some of the conversations that we need to be having, and really having them in such a meaningful way that people feel like, you know what, I really truly feel like you were true, genuine, and very, very open-minded about what this experience that I'm going through is.
Yeah. So what can we do right now in this time, in this space and place? I mean, you know, we're putting a lot of attention on awareness, and I know you have a message that you want to share too.
I think the bigger question is how effective are we in what we're doing? The effectiveness is what I have a challenge with. So for example, we're doing this How Are You Wellness Week on August 1st to the 7th. And we have a simple message to everyone. Put aside all the frivolous conversations about sports and entertainment and this and that, and really just let the conversations for that week be about checking in on each other, our mental and emotional wellness. Let the conversation be at the dining table, the restaurant, the bar, the football field, wherever you are. Say, hey, Brett, hey, Jaime, how are you? How are you feeling, man? How is life? How are things? Really? And just taking that time to have that meaningful conversation. Because when we connect like that, we're now able to say, wow, I didn't even know you were going through all of that. I didn't know that this is how this pandemic has affected you, or the gun violence has affected you, or the fact that you're unemployed and not able to meet your basic needs are affecting you. I always thought that you were a guy that had it together, you held yourself together, you carry yourself good, you're a person who always looks like you're on top of. I didn't know that you were going through all these different things. Once we start having those meaningful conversations and getting to know each other, we hopefully are going to get to know the realities behind the face, the dress up, the makeup, the things that we put on the outward, to know what's really going on inwardly and how we can apply that to really effectively helping and creating effective programs to meet those needs.
So August is the day. It'll be a week, and you're looking forward. What do you want people to know as far as being able to participate?
So August 1st to the 7th is that week. We're calling it the How Are You Wellness Week. You could go to howareyouvellnessweek.com. You'll find more information there. We're asking people to be a part of the conversation. Let us know that you're willing to do something in your church, your school, your business place. The feedback we have gotten has been, my heart has truly been moved by the feedback that we have gotten. So many people have expressed gratitude to know that we can really start asking this question seriously. People have been sharing how much they're going through and just not having a place or anyone who has ever asked them that question. So whether you're at your business place, a school, a church, you're in the general public, you're hosting events, we want you to participate that week by doing something that's focusing on how are you, and letting us know so we can help to promote that, so we can help to share awareness of that, let people know that that is being done. The more we have people engaged, is the more people we'll reach. And this is not about you being a healthcare worker, a clinician, or all that. This is just us going back to basic human traits. Inhumane. Sorry, I'm stumbling on words right now. How excited I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just getting back to being humane and move away from just this inhumane model of people just not caring about our emotions. We know that it's uncomfortable when you start talking about emotion. People don't like that, but we're focusing on that for that whole week, and let that be a week of healing, a hope, inspiration, motivation for everyone.
Yeah. I think about, you know, the wellness of people today. And I think there's so many people who we see and they're actually smiling, and they're smiling, but they're just functioning. They're just functioning and they're just really existing. When the fact is COVID-19 has had just a tremendous impact in their lives.
Yeah. And the thing is that, Daren, we don't even know what that is. We don't even know where that is coming from. We don't even know where, you know, the true emotions of that is. We see COVID, we see the death toll, we see the panic, we see the Delta variant right now causing more anxiety and stuff, but we don't know what that experience is like for people. How are they feeling about these things? What have been the impact on them? And how are they dealing with that impact? And the only way we could do that is by sitting down and having a meaningful conversation, regardless of who you are. I'll give you an example. That week, we're going to be doing some interviews and having some guests come on, and none of it has to do with their titles or roles or where they work. It surprised them when I asked them to be a guest, because I specifically said to them, you're not going to talk about your work or your organization or your title, which is what you normally do when you go to a meeting. You're just going to come on and we're going to talk about how are you? And some of them were just like, man, I can't even tell the last time somebody asked me that question, because everywhere I go, I'm defined by my role or where I work or what I do. So now you got me stumped, because I got to figure out how am I even going to do this? You know, like, am I going to even be comfortable doing this? Can you imagine that?
I can, and we got to wrap up. But I'll say this: I have my good friends and people I'm close with sometimes, and I say to them, "How are you doing?" And they'll say, "Okay." And I say, "How you doing?" And I say, "Okay." And I ask 3 times. I say, "Why you ask?" I said, "Because we're so used to just saying it, just to get through it as a casual conversation. But the real, my real intent is to know how you doing." So, Brett, thank you, because in August you're going to find out from people how they're doing. You're going to help them to know how they're doing. Brett Scudder, good to have you here, brother.
Thank you, my brother. So let me wrap up by asking you, how are you?
Maintaining, brother. I'm doing all right. You caught me on one of them days. I'm maintaining, brother. So I appreciate you asking. I'm doing all right.
Okay.
And if I'm not doing well, by that time, I'll catch up to you in August.
There you go. Take care,
all
righty.
righty.
Thank you so much.
Hey, no problem. Listen, for more information, visit them on the website, sisfi.org. There you can find out more information, or also follow them on Instagram, or I should say on social media, SISFI. All right, listen, take a quick break. We've got more. Stay with us. Open continues in a minute. And welcome back to the show. Well, with the increased number of COVID-19 vaccinations, we do know that restrictions are being lifted and employees are slowly transitioning back to the office. Many companies see the appeal of combining office life with work from home flexibility. As companies reopen their offices, they're deciding how the virtual arrangements they've relied on during the pandemic will factor into their long-term plans or not. And joining us to tell us more and these details is the career strategist and TV contributor, Elizabeth Koraca, who joins us again. And Elizabeth, good to have you back.
So wonderful to be with you today, Daren.
As we get together, we are really on the other side, we're in a better place than we've been talking about COVID, right? But yet and still, as we're coming out of COVID, many people are coming into this reality that I don't want to go back to the office. So talk to us about the struggle for both employees and employers.
Yes, I mean, there's a real combination of kind of what's going on right now. Many people are surprised and have enjoyed themselves working from home. The benefits, like not having to spend extra time commuting, being able to see their spouse or loved ones and kids, being able to do more around the house. And now all of a sudden things are starting to go back to normal and employers are calling their employees back to the office. But if you want to stay home or do a hybrid model, I have got some tips for you.
Yeah. So talk to me. I am that employee. I don't want to go back to the office. What do I tell my manager in a time like this to try to at least throw the pitch?
Well, yes, you want to address your productivity. Has working from home had a positive impact on your quality of work? And if the answer is yes, you want to highlight examples, showcase those accomplishments, and kind of provide tangible data that demonstrate that you are just as productive, if not more, from working from home than back in the office.
Yeah, so I don't want to do it. And I got to talk to my employer. I got to say to him, listen, um, I got some needs at home. And I really recognize the value of possibly being in this place. How hard of a conversation is it? And give me a little bit more on how I can soften that pitch.
Well, it doesn't have to be hard because you want to plan ahead in advance. What is your strategy? So you want to kind of write all of this out before you go and talk to the boss. You want to present your case in a way that really benefits the company that you're working for. For example, if you have a long commute, focus on how eliminating that commute will give you more working hours or more availability for early morning or even late afternoon meetings.
Well, Elizabeth, how do I handle an employer who really has this desire for me to really get back to work? I mean, I think about New York and, Goldman Sachs. They're saying, listen, we want all of our employees to get back. How do I handle it when I have an employer that is so insistent upon me going back to work? What's that conversation like?
You always want to be prepared for something like this. When you're preparing a strategy or you're preparing for a meeting, you want to think about, what do I hope they don't do? What do I hope they don't ask me? And that's what you want to be prepared for. So be prepared for the meeting with answers to anticipated questions and solutions to address the pushback. Think about how your team and how you'll communicate, collaborate, and stay connected while working remotely. But number one, think about and speak about all the great things that you've done and that you've accomplished during working from home.
So let me talk about this here. We're here outside of COVID-19. I should say COVID-19, navigating coming out of this. And I know that one of the things that we had to do in COVID-19 was really establish some boundaries, right? Because touching, social distancing, how we do this. But as it is for COVID-19 and doing that within the house, you also have to do these things in the workplace and that balance between work and home. Give me a little bit about a boundary setting in a time like this.
So don't be afraid to speak and talk to your manager about COVID protocol, what it's going to look like. What are the expectations? What do you need to deliver now? How have things changed? Because things have definitely changed. And I know a lot of people can be fearful of asking for what they want or asking for things, but don't be afraid. This is about your safety. This is about your workplace happiness and your comfort level. This is key. And I urge people to speak up and get all the information so you know what the expectations are. And so you can deliver and be comfortable.
Yeah, expectations are huge. And, being able to share those expectations sometimes is hard for people. They live up to somebody else's expectations, but sometimes we have a hard time in sharing them. What can we do to better work on that expectation game, if you will?
Well, yeah, I think often we put the most pressure on ourselves. The expectations we put on ourselves, and a lot of us are perfectionists. I feel like I'm a recovering perfectionist. Yeah, I think a lot of us are. And you want to really think about, am I helping myself or hurting myself with expectations that are not reachable, right?
Right.
You cannot reach perfection. There is no such thing. And you're setting yourself up for failure if you put those expectations on yourself. So you want to kind of assess and look at your goals and write out a list of expectations and think about, is this actually achievable? And then next, when you get the expectations or kind of the tasks back from your manager or from your employer about what is expected of you, is this something you can reach? Do you need help with it? Do you need to say, you know what, I really appreciate this. This is great for me to know, but this is not plausible. I can't accomplish this because I don't have this information or I don't have this support. So it's important to have open communications so then your boss or your team is not disappointed in you.
Right. And so as we're coming out, talk to us about future. We're in the summer right now. What can we expect in the employment world?
Well, things are heating up and people are hiring and industries are ramping up again. So this is all very exciting. And, if you are looking for a new job, if you are not happy in what you're doing right now could still be a good time to get out there, ask around, figure out what it is you really want to do. As I just mentioned, like asking people and colleagues and friends and people in your industry or even outside of your industry, can you help me? I'm thinking of potentially, changing industries or changing jobs or finding a new job. What can you do to help me? Because it's really important if we're looking for new employment or a new career or even industry, to start with the people we know. Start with the people who know our work ethic, who know how good you are and who will be willing to help you before you even hop on Monster or Indeed or any of those platforms. You really want to, I would say, stick with people you know first.
Yeah. And if we're going to make sure that we're sticking with people that we know, let's talk about employers. We know how employers are. We know what they'll be looking for coming out of COVID. Give us a little bit about what you think employers are going to be looking for as we come out of this COVID back into this work environment.
I think employers are looking for someone who is flexible, who's ready, who's got, the guns blazing, so to speak. Someone who's passionate and excited and maybe would also be open to a hybrid model, because a lot of employers are very open to that hybrid model, working from home or working in the office. And some employers, might even be switching completely to working from home and maybe just doing a few meetings in the office. So it's really important to be flexible, to show excitement, to show passion. And again, you want to tweak your LinkedIn profile. You want to tweak your resume. You want to get feedback. You want to get somebody proofreading this, because when you present yourself, you want to be as polished as much as possible when you're presenting yourself.
All right, Elizabeth, we got to leave it there, but thank you so much for joining us. I mean, a lot to think about. We're going to see how this goes over the course of the next 3 months or so as people are trying to navigate that environment of, do I stay home? Do I get in? Do I stay home? And what's the boss going to say? But Elizabeth, thanks for some helpful tips.
Thank you. I love being with you guys.
Love being with you too. And listen, I want to let our viewers know, listen, now, if you want more information, of course, you are encouraged to get connected to her at elizabethkoraca.com. And there you can find out more information if you need some guidance. She is a strategist. She is a coach. She can help you better than I can ever give you any information here. So make sure you reach out to Elizabeth. Listen, we got more shows. Stay with us. We'll be right back in a few. And welcome back. Well, our next guest is born and raised in New York City. Growing up with a deep appreciation and a keen eye for fashion, he's transformed his childhood dream into reality with his own streetwear label, catching the eye of professional athletes as well as musicians, celebrities worldwide. And ever since he started his brand, he's been working to help put the Bronx back on the map by working with fellow Bronx creators as well as designers. Pleased to have with us here on Open, Mugzy, McFly, and good to have you, Mugzy.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks. I love that intro, man. I appreciate that.
Well, listen, I mean, if you're doing a do, we got to just give you the credit for where credit is, right? So you are doing great work, and literally talk to us about your passion here. And when did you first have this passion?
Well, from what I can remember, I just know I always liked sneakers. And growing up, maybe third, fourth grade, I felt like I was kind of leaning in to get into clothing. But then my mom went back and told me stories where I was a kid and before I could speak, I knew brands, and that I wouldn't leave a store unless the sneakers was a certain, if they didn't have that swoosh or they didn't have the Pro Kids little blue box behind it, I wouldn't go home with it, to the point that she'd have to draw on new sneakers for me to make it look like sneakers I wanted for me to leave the store.
Yeah.
So it kind of been instilled in me without me even knowing from early.
So you get sneakers, you design them, and you've won the attention of a lot of people. Talk to us about your designs and what really inspires you.
Well, I come up in the Bronx, and I feel like we are the last of the boroughs that isn't gentrified, and we still are like pure culture. People still look to us for, like style and everything, and it isn't like we are the very first stop, and then everybody takes what we have and tries to sell it back to us. And I'm just a product of my environment. Like I walk outside and there's culture everywhere, and I might not have like the savings account, checking account to purchase the best things in the stores. So I create it. I see something I like. Hey, let me get my own version of it. Why not?
Yeah, yeah. And so as you're going to and fro, you've caught the eyes of different people. Talk to me about some of the celebrity encounters you've had and what they've actually said about your work.
Well, I have a list. I don't like to really talk too crazy. One of my favorite ones from New York was Jim Jones. I dropped my very first sneaker in August, and I just got a DM on Instagram, and it was Jim Jones, and he was like, "Yo, those are crazy. I need those." And I met up with him in Harlem, gave it to him. I sat back wondering when he's gonna wear it, and then boom, he put it on Drip Report, and it was on Revolt, and it's just a great feeling to have that happen, and then I have like Young Thug wore something of mine, a good friend of mine goes, Lance Stevenson from New York City. He got a couple of outfits for me right after he wore it to his championship game right there in Dykeman and met up with me and everything. It was really cool, man.
Yeah. When you talk about your style, obviously style is going to be the order of the day as we are now opening back up coming out of COVID. What do you see as possible, some of like these trends that we can actually see of style coming out of COVID as New York is starting to get their swag back?
So I feel like a lot of people are gonna like play catch up. Since we didn't have a summer last year, I feel like people will try to like make statements. And also, since we weren't together, people are gonna like express things that they probably didn't before. Like we're cozy now. We aren't so dressed up. We've been home. We've been inside. So we wear like we might not wear slacks and jeans. We'll wear like sweats and shorts and more comfortable stuff. So I feel like people will bring that outside because that's what they've been so accustomed to for almost a year and some change. So and I also think for some reason earth tones and everybody wants to be outside. So those colors will play a very big role in like our attire will look like as it gets warmer and everything opens up and we're outside longer again.
Yeah. And so the tones of the summer, what are some of the things that we can say, listen, the summer, you'll see this?
Definitely, I feel like greens, browns, like a lot of like French terry, soft cottons, nothing too heavy, bigger, I don't know what it is, but I see bigger clothing coming back, like more baggy clothing, loose fitting. Like I said, like everybody wants to be cozy, like I'm a cozy boy in fashion terms, where, I don't want to be too uptight. I want to be free. I want to be comfort all the time. And I feel like you'll see those vibrant colors, earth tones, and bigger clothing play a big part this summer.
Yeah. And so as I think about it, I think about, wow, you know what? You're a brother who's really started from the bottom in many ways, and now you're here. Yeah. And when you look at where you are right now, did you ever think about you'd be at this place?
I have. I'm very ambitious, but like a lot of things that do happen to me, I really be like, wow, like I don't even get a real chance to digest it. Like it happens and then it's a quick hitter and I go right back to work. Cause like I have a lot of things that I want to accomplish, but every once in a while I sit back and it's like, wow, I have no form of training in this. This is just off of love. All of this is off love. So it's kind of amazing to actually be here.
Yeah, when you look at the streets and how they receive your stuff, I mean, obviously Jim Jones, of course, those that are on social media, that's a whole nother level. But talk about the love that you received in the streets prior to hitting that level.
Well, I feel like that's actually my base, my core. And I feel like anybody out there that wants to like pursue this, you need that. Like you need your home base. You need your true support system. And I feel like the streets of the Bronx, Uptown, under the 2 train, White Plains Road, Gun Hill, 233rd, they really, really championed me. And they gave me the power to continue to do this. I walk up and down and people I don't know will speak to me. And I have people wearing stuff that I've never met before. And I feel like I need that. And that's why I'm actually coming back to put more support and more power and more love into my Bronx community where I grew up at.
Yeah. So if people want to get your work and have Mugzy McFly do some designs for them, what do they do?
Well, I'm an open book, so you can write me on Instagram. You can just Google me, whatever social media there is, I answer all of them. I have a million emails coming a day. I answer all of it. Random numbers call me. I pick up. And I'm actually about to open a location in the Bronx. So you'll be able to come and see me or leave a message or whatever. And actually might even set up a actual meeting, like a scheduled meeting, and pick my brain. And I like to help people build brands. I want to see people. I want to be the person I didn't have. I didn't have like a mentor or someone above me in this field of being an entrepreneur or creative that could help me and guide me. So I want to be that for my community.
Yeah. So when you talk about building a brand, it's been a long journey for you. What was the biggest lesson that you learned in building that brand?
Oh, the biggest lesson is your friends and family are not your target audience and they owe you nothing. And people think, oh, I got a bunch of friends, so I have a bunch of customers. And it's not like that. Your friends, they actually think opposite. Like, that's my friend. I shouldn't have to pay full price. I shouldn't have to be able to have to wait online. I shouldn't have to have it shipped to me. They're not the people. It's actually the friend of your friend, like someone that barely knows you, that knows of you. That's your better customer. Your friend, your mom, your family, they all want discounts. They all want it for free. They all skip the line. That's not the person that's going to keep you afloat. Because I have enough of his stuff. I'm supporting. They treat it more so like charity. The person that honestly just likes it because of what it is, that's your consumer. I just think it's innate in people. Like, oh, that's my man, so he got me. But like, if they work for a big company and they got the company discount, that's one thing. But me, you're taking right out of my plate to give you. I'm giving you my rib. It's a little bit different. I was working for somebody else in Macy's or something. It's a little different. So they don't think about it like that.
Yeah. So of all your work, what's the favorite piece you've done?
I'd have to say my sneaker, the same one that Jim Jones asked for, because I feel like there's a bunch of little brands out here and everybody makes t-shirts, hats, shorts, socks, whatever. But like to actually have a sneaker, I think is just different. It's way more difficult. Is a lot more competitive, and is where I come from. Like, I had a love of sneakers that started my foundation in fashion, and for me to be able to come full circle, exactly 7 years to the date of my first drop, I dropped my sneaker, and it just meant the world to me. And I feel like that put me over the top.
Yeah. Well, we want to thank you for joining us, Mugzy. Congratulations on the great work that you're doing, and hopefully more Bronxites and those across the city will get a chance to find out a little bit more about Mugzy McFly.
I'm here for it, man. I appreciate you guys.
Hey, appreciate you. Now, listen, if you want more information, don't forget you can visit the website at signedbymcfly.com, and then also follow him on social media at Mugzy McFly. Listen, gotta take a quick break. We got more show coming up. We'll be right back after this. And welcome back. The Bronx Book Fair is dedicated to engaging and growing the community of poets and writers in the Bronx and connecting readers to all book lovers of all ages. Their goal is to engage the community with a variety of literature and programming, as well as broadening access to Bronx literary artists. Here to tell us more is the executive director of the Bronx Book Fair, Lorraine Currelley, and also author Edward Currelley. And we thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
You know, literacy is so huge in our borough. It's much needed, and you guys are going front and center with the Bronx Book Fair. Tell us a little bit about the fair.
Well, the fair was launched in 2013, and we're committed to connecting book lovers, writers, poets with our community, and increasing and encouraging library usage. The Bronx has always been reading literature and highly engaged in writing So what we're doing, we're here and we're committed. We're here and we're committed to doing the work to bring the best of literary programming to our community who is so deserving. The big secret is, and I don't understand how it could be a secret, but the Bronx has some of the best writers, some of the best poets, some of the best artists. We are a very fruitful community.
And so having a fruitful community, having these artists, obviously the ability to come together and the ability for artists and literary geniuses to really come together. Special day, Ed.
Yes, it does. It's, you know, it's like, it certainly does. And, you know, it's, I wanted to mention, you know, to piggyback on what Lorraine had just said, was that, you know, it's like the Bronx Book Fair was founded in you know, it's 2012, and she became involved in 2013. And she's been the executive director since that time, but it's a year-round program, actually, you know, it's like, that's headed by Poets Net with an Exchange. You know, it's like Lorraine does, you know, it's like she produces and curates featured poetry readings and workshops and literary presentations all year round. So, you know, it's like along with workshops and such. So, you know, I think I want to just throw that out there. But this is such an extraordinary event in the Bronx.
Yeah.
What it, you know,
I would like, if I may interject, I would like to just make a slight correction. I'm one of the founding members. I'm one of the founding members. It was founded in 2013, as stated many times, but I actually became the executive director, the first female to lead the organization in 2017. And it's been growing ever since. Our attendance has increased. We're getting more participation from our authors residing in the Bronx, and it has actually expanded internationally. We're now local, national, and international, and we have diverse participation from people who have reached out from us from everywhere, wanting to be a part of the Bronx Book Fair. So it's constantly growing, and our community, I love our community. Our community has been supportive, Daren, Jaime, since day one. They're there volunteering, they're offering suggestions, they're offering encouragement, and they're all in. I mean, they are literally all in. There's not a day that I do not get a call, an email with suggestions, and I embrace all of it. And I must say this, I am so honored to have our community give us the name Bronx Book Fair, AKA the People's Book Fair. Doesn't get any better than that.
Doesn't get any better than that. Edward, talk to me about the fact of, as you're doing this, we're coming off of the heels of the pandemic. And as we're now having the opportunity to really come together, there've been a lot of people who couldn't. So share with us a little bit about how the pandemic has actually affected the book fair and what you're hoping to overcome this year.
Well, what's happened, you know, it's like, you know, of course, the pandemic has put a damper on everything, you know, it's like live. And thank God for the use of virtual, you know, virtual technology. That, you know, it's like that has enabled us to continue working. We had in 2020, we had a shorter fair, but we were able to connect and engage the community and authors. It was very much like being together, you know, it's like without actually being present. Everyone, you know, contributed. We had a considerable audience, you know, and the videos are actually available on YouTube as well. But you know, it's like everyone came out and participated, and it also afforded people an opportunity to be in their own spaces and to interact, which is something, you know, that's never been done, because it's always been live on stage at Kingsbridge Library. And since everyone was at home, we were able to get a kind of like a snippet of people with their families interacting and seeing the impact. You know, it's like who who knew that, it's like so many writers and authors, they, they have children, they have families, and with kids, it's like being able to sit there and actually engage. And that was very interesting to me. It's like, and it kind of put more of a human face, I think, on the overall experience of the Bronx Book Fair. Because we see these people who are noted and who are in some cases bigger than life to us, and then when we get to see them in their own habitat, their own homes, it's like living like we do, it's like it gave, I'm sure it reminded the audience and upcoming writers that, it's like we're all basically the same, some with having had opportunities and who have gotten opportunities to move forward, but we're all struggling and we are all doing the same thing. We're all in our homes, we're at our computers doing the same thing. And, it's like, and it gives us a certain amount of hope, I think, a certain amount of hope and inspiration to see artists and in their, like we are, like
right
home, and so it's it's like it's a good
Might I add
blessing at the same time.
Yeah, Lorraine, I was gonna tell you, you got about 30 seconds left. You can wrap it up.
Okay, what I wanted to say, our home venue since 2013 has been the Bronx Library Center. The Bronx Library Center has been our home. And what we do, unlike a lot of other book fairs or venues, but book fairs or festivals, what we do, we focus on providing opportunity, not only for seasoned writers, but those emergent. We believe that opportunity belongs to everybody. And we want to see those faces participating who do not usually get the invitation. So that is why, one of the major reasons why we are here and working so hard, because we want to provide that space and encourage and be an inspiration to those writers in our community. So this is very, very important to us. We want to meet our community where they're at, and this has been an opportunity. Also, it's been very challenging. It's been very challenging since COVID, but we've overcome that challenge, and we found a way, as Edward stated, through technology to connect with our community, and we're going stronger than ever.
Yeah. Lorraine, Edward, I definitely got to leave it there, but thank you so much for sharing with us today, and glad to have you. Best wishes and continued success for the Bronx Book Fair.
Well, thank you so
thank
much.
You.
And hopefully
Thank
we'll
you.
See you on,
we appreciate
on July 30th and 31st.
Yes. Well, Lorraine, Ed, thank you so much for being with us here on the show. Want to let you know, for more information, you can catch them on the Bronx Book Fair on social media. Want to let you know we come to the end of our show today. Want to thank all of our guests for joining us, and most of all, the viewer for tuning in. Want to let you know if you missed any part of today's show, you can catch us on BronxNet's Channel 67, Verizon Fios, Channel 2133, or anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. Again, thank you to our viewers who are watching on Manhattan Neighborhood Network, as Open is broadcast live simultaneously on the MNN channel. We thank you so much for joining us. Until the next time we meet, we tell you stay safe. And then we also want to let you know, if you want a brand new episode of Open, join us on Friday. My girl, Rena Valentine, will bring you the best in arts and entertainment. Until then, I'm Daren Jaime saying take care. God bless. Keep this channel wide open.